Hey, we are Straight Facts Homie about to react to the Patriots and Bills Thursday Night Football, Amazon exclusive. Hope you found the game. Some of us didn't. Maybe we'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll do that and we'll record and we'll talk and get in the comments. We want to hear your feedback if you happen to be watching live in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. So let us begin. Here we are in. Before I do, Walter, let me just give you permission again, just in case. Here we go.
Cool.
Apologies for the lollygagging on YouTube Live, but we are going in 5 seconds here. 5, 4, 3. Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, into the one and only Straight Facts Homie, a 60-minute NFL show coming your way. I'm Mason Souza. There's Walter Spina and John Lyons. We have reached week 14, I believe. We are in the final quarter of the season. We are in December. Usually in years past, where the New England Patriots are in their prime, not so much in the last couple of years. We'll react to the Patriots and Bills on Thursday Night Football here on YouTube Live, here on Vimeo, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Google Straight Facts Home. You'll find us. And then everything else, the rest of the show, as usual. But let's spare no more time. Walter, let's begin with you. The Patriots fall to the Bills 24-10. It didn't seem as close as the score might say. What did you assess from that?
Well, first I had to find a way to watch the game. There's been the complaints over the last several weeks about these Thursday night games on Amazon Prime. You think, okay, Patriots game, it's going to be on local TV. And it was on Fox. And I go to Fox and it's blacked out in my area. So I had to go find a stream online to watch. And once I finally got that, it was, 10 minutes into the game already. Patriots were up 7-0. So I had to rely on a replay to see that a defensive player had scored an offensive touchdown for the Patriots. You've got all these weapons. Why is a defensive guy, scoring our first touchdown, and why is he leading our team in receiving yards for the day? So outside of trying to find the game, now I finally have it on and I'm watching the game, and the game played out exactly how I said. The Bills just have the Patriots number. The Patriots cannot stop the Bills. Hey, they made them punt at least this game. I guess that's a moral victory, since we're handing out moral victories this season. But 24 points for the Bills, 14 in the second quarter, another 7 in the fourth quarter. It pretty much played out like I thought it would. Mac Jones, again, okay numbers, 22 of 36, only 195 yards, was sacked. I don't know how many times offhand. Let me get that. Just once. So, but you just look at the numbers and, it speaks like why we only have 10 points. And again, it's same thing week in and week out. Why are we in week 13? The Patriots are still struggling to run the ball, 60 yards on 14 carries. I know Damian Harris wasn't in the lineup, but still, you just can't get anything of substance going. This is the third time in 4 weeks where the offense has looked absolutely awful. Second week in a row now, the defense has played a competent quarterback and a competent offense, and they give up 20 plus points, 24 plus points, 24 in this game. But it just nothing's going right offensively. Defensively, they're starting to get exposed now that we're playing more playoff type teams, and there's just no reason why we're in week 13 and the offense is still struggling like this. Weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, that's fine. We're trying to work out some kinks. We've got a new play caller, but Matt Patricia still just almost looks like he's drawing up plays in the dirt, and just so many mismanaged plays, mismanaged drive, mistakes that Patriots teams of the past would never make, clock management times, just timely penalties, all that. And, it accumulates into a 24-10 loss. And now we sit at 6-6. I said they were only going to win 6 games. I wouldn't at all be surprised if, this team is done. Stick a fork in them. They're not going to win another game the rest of the year. And that includes the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders. So again, I don't think they're going to find any niche. They're not going to find any groove on offense the rest of the year. The defense is going to continue to be exposed as they've been the last couple of weeks against good quarterbacks. And this is what the team's going to be, maybe win one more game, but that's all we are. But we praised the team when they would win games versus the Lions and the Browns. And I think yesterday or Thursday night was more of who the Patriots really are this season, with a terrible offense and an overrated defense that gets exposed when they play some good teams.
I don't know what was worse for you, Walter, the fact that you couldn't find the stream the first 10 minutes or the fact that you had to watch the rest of the game. I mean, it was brutal. And you know what really frustrates me? The Patriots defense They got smoked earlier in the game. They gave up a quick 17 points, and I was sitting there like, oh, this might be ugly. But then they caused a turnover. They only gave up 1 touchdown in the second half. They only gave up 355 total yards. And I know they were bad on third down. I get it. But 24 points to the Bills at home, like, to me, that should be good enough to win. Like, this is a team that last year gave up 47 to the Bills in the playoffs, 35 the last time they played at Gillette Stadium. This was an effort. Like, the offense really let the Patriots down. They lost 24-10. It felt like it was 41-10 because the offense was so inept. And what is really, it hasn't gotten any better. I mean, how many times can we look at this offense and say, oh, they had a good game? Minnesota is the only time we can look and say they had a good game, and they still mismanaged series in the red zone. They still mismanaged the clock at the end of the first half in that game, and they still went quiet in the fourth quarter. We can also look at the first half of the Baltimore game and the last drive against Pittsburgh. Other than that, I mean, there's not, and the Cleveland game, they had a good game. So we're looking at 2.5 to 3 total good games out of 12 for an offense. I mean, that's unacceptable. And you look at this as an offense, and look, we've said a lot about Matt Patricia game planning and calling plays, and I think he's been wildly inconsistent, mostly bad at that, okay? But I think a huge indictment of him, which is getting really underplayed, who on this offense has developed as a player in the past year? Because to me, a huge part of being a good coach is helping players develop and putting them in the best position to succeed. There's only one guy on this offense, one, who's better than he was a year ago, and that's Ramondre Stevenson. Every single other player on this offense is either the same or worse. That is a failure, absolute systemic failure by the Patriots offense. And we can go back and look at it. The defense didn't play good against Baltimore, or didn't play well against Baltimore. Offense still had the ball twice in the fourth quarter, down 31-26, turned it over both times. They gave up 1 defensive touchdown in week 1 to Miami, could only score 7 points. They lost that game. Chicago, they got up 14-10, and then the defense played bad, but the offense didn't move the ball at all. Green Bay, first down at the 50 in overtime. They got 5 yards. I mean, this is time after time. Minnesota, they finally play well and then are 0 for 3 in the red zone. I mean, at some point, they need to take a hard look in the mirror, because what they're doing is not working. At best, it's inconsistent, and at worst, it's costing them games. And it's just so frustrating to watch, because we saw the potential of this offense last year, and they've just regressed completely. Like I said, one guy is better than a year ago. One. That's it.
I'd like to preface my opening take by saying I predicted the Bills to win. I thought it was going to be maybe 2-3 scores like it was. As we got closer to the game, I was thinking, okay, Patriots are a little desperate at this point. They know with a loss, the playoff hopes shrink dramatically, and they just need this. At home, Thursday night, both teams have had a week to prepare, so no crying about a short week. Let's do this. For all intents and purposes, the Patriots had 10.5 months to prepare for this game. They lost to the Buffalo Bills back on January 15th of this year. Fast forward to November 30th, or whenever exactly the game was.
December 1st, yes.
Thank you. And they gutted the linebacking core. They wanted to go fast to keep up with someone like Josh Allen. But wait a minute, Josh Allen is actually stronger than your fast linebackers, as you saw on his second touchdown pass, which was Mahomes-esque. Thinks he's going to get tackled out of bounds, sheds Mac Wilson, throws a jump pass to some area in the end zone. Gabe Davis touchdown. John, you made a great point, 17-7, but it may have been 50-0 at that point, because you had seen the offense, yes, had that Marcus Jones wrinkle, tremendous first offensive snap, touchdown for Marcus Jones. Great. Let's get more of that, more trick plays, more going for it on fourth down. Didn't have any of that the rest of the game. The offense was 3-and-out, I believe, the rest of the first half, at the very least. There was a Marcus Jones 48-yard touchdown. Everything else, 3-and-out. You had so much time to prepare for the Buffalo Bills. This was the team that you were supposed to get past, not only in the division, but if you are going to, like the owner, Robert Kraft, said, let's win one playoff game this year. The progress for this season, win a playoff game. Now it looks like you won't be Walter says stick a fork in them. They're not going to win another game. That's a pretty hot take. We'll clip that. We'll post it on all our social media. But the point is, I agree with the fact that this is not a playoff team. Even if they technically do make the playoffs, they do not belong in the playoffs because the offense has been so wildly inconsistent, John, to use your phrase, borderline atrocious, awful in the red zone. The play calling, a botched handoff to start the game. Trent Brown cut blocking again for some strange reason. Mac Jones just throwing intentional grounding at the 1 yard line, almost in the end zone for no reason. A delay of game on a punt when you're already inside your own 20. Dysfunction at its finest. That's the New England Patriots of 2022, and it's sickening. That's probably not the right word to use, but like what we've seen in the past 20 years as Patriots fans, Bill Belichick led team, you're looking for at least a disciplined team, and you are getting the bottom of the barrel. This team doesn't look like they practice at times, running routes into each other. There was a play where I think it was Aguilar and Henry running the same out 2 to 3 yards next to each other. This has been happening all season long. It is December. I'm actually shocked they are a 500 team, just considering how dysfunctional they are. And no, I'm not going to go into, well, if any other coach, they'd be 3-8. No, this is a bad team, and Bill Belichick caused this by bringing in a coaching staff that is not well equipped to run an offense. And this will be talked about throughout the offseason. They're at a crossroads right now because we see Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne outburst mid-game, talking post-game, saying we need to scheme it up better, a direct shot at the coaches. Things are getting bad over at One Patriot Place, and we can see it right now as the Patriots are 6-6 and definitely on the outside looking in.
And I hope that continues to happen. Obviously, the theme in New England for years has always been like, keep everything in-house. Don't let anything out to the media, blah, 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 this and that. But at some point, things have to change. The media is going to get sick of these little quick 1-sentence answers, 2-3 word answers from Belichick. You're going to have to start explaining why things aren't working. And you can start right up top with Belichick. He brings in guys, Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, guys that have failed other places, but for some reason you bring them back, and you put Matt Patricia, who's worked on offensive, with offensive teams before, but never been an offensive coordinator. So you're putting him in to help develop your second-year quarterback who took major strides last year under Josh McDaniels. So he leaves to be a head coach for the Vegas Raiders. You think you want to get someone that's going to help continue that development of Mac Jones. And, you were trying to think of the word, Mason. I think the word I would use for the Patriots this season has been disappointing, or even severely disappointing, because there was so much potential after last year. You saw Ramondre Stevenson come on late in the season. You think, okay, if Damian Harris can either stay healthy or if he goes out, you have a good backup in Ramondre Stevenson. You've got Mac Jones who can take that next step forward in his second year. You've got some talent. I think the talent on the offense is good if you had a good play caller. I think if we had Josh McDaniels this year, I think the offense would be flowing really nice with the use of the tight ends, bringing in Devontae Parker. You've got some other pieces you can use too. And I think Josh McDaniels would find ways, and that's what a good offensive coordinator does, is find ways to get the ball into those guys' hands and scheme them into different scenarios where they can make plays happen. And you see Mac Jones almost weekly now visibly frustrated on the sideline because things aren't going the way they should be. And I kind of agree with you, Mason, that for them to be 6-6 at this point is very surprising, and they could be better. And like you said, with a different coach, they have this record, that record. But the reason why they are 6-6 is because Belichick chose his coaching staff to run this team, on the offensive side of the ball, I think with a lot of talent, like I said, but you bring in guys that they're not going to develop Mac Jones while he's trying to learn from Joe Judge or Matt Patricia. You have to bring in an actual offensive mind that is going to help propel this offense forward. And defense, I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, they kind of on and off every week. I still think they're a little overrated due to what they've done, recently compared to early in the season, where beating up on bad teams, pitching the shutout against the Lions. And now, like I thought, now you're going to start facing these playoff caliber quarterbacks that can actually move the ball on you. How are you going to respond to that? So just both sides of the ball, and even special teams, you're just making mistake after mistake after mistake. So all three sides of the ball don't look good. And it starts right at the top with Bill Belichick. And I think after the season, I think Robert Kraft walks into his office and says, we need to reevaluate this. I don't know what has to change. Offensive coordinator, something has to do it, because we can't have our quarterback going into his third year and he's going to take another step backwards. And now we're at a point where we don't want to re-sign him for the money he may want. And now we're just in a whole different situation. I'm thinking, 3 years down the road, but Belichick pretty much got us into this mess where we're at right now. The talent is there. I think it's just the guys behind the wheel of the offense that's trying to run it, and it's not working out, and it's very frustrating. And like I said at the beginning, very, very disappointing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Walter. And not only is the Patriots coaching this year not as good as it was last year on offense, it's not as good as Mac Jones had at Alabama. I mean, you look at the coaches he had on the coaching staff there. Off the top of my head, I think there were 4, maybe 5 offensive coaches on that Alabama staff with NFL experience. Steve Sarkisian was his offensive coordinator. Kind of helped too that they had like the best receiving core in the country. But at the same time, this is probably the worst coaching Mac Jones has got since he left high school. And the thing about it, and hear me out on this, but I think Bill Belichick is actually a really good to great offensive coach and offensive mind, because if you look over 20 years, their offense has morphed and gone through some big stylistic changes, from the Antoine Smith, Corey Dillon years to then, Deion Branch opening it up more with Dillon, to then the Moss and Welker, the Gronk Hernandez thing, then the Edelman Gronk, and then the pounding it with Sony Michel in that 2018 playoff run. So they've done a lot of different things, and they've done them well. And I give Belichick credit for that. The key difference is the guys he had implementing those changes and those offense was Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, Bill O'Brien. Those are the coordinators. And you still had Dante Scarnecchia, Ivan Fears, right? You Chad O'Shea, you had all these great coaches. Now, the only coach on this offensive staff that has real coaching experience and has been successful as an NFL coach is Nick Caley, the tight ends coach. And look, I think Troy Brown is a good coach, but he's still new at it. He's only been doing it a few years. And their running backs coach, new. Quarterbacks coach, new, at least at this position. O-line coach, new. So to me, we see this drop off in coach. And look, the last time the Patriots won the Super Bowl, through 4 years ago, they had the best coaching staff in the NFL. Now they're probably in the bottom third. And the only reason I put them that high is because how good Belichick is and how good I think Gerard Mayo is on the defensive side. But overall, I mean, I understand why Mac Jones is frustrated. And don't get me wrong either. Mac Jones has not played that well this year. He's been really inconsistent, especially early on with the turnovers. I thought he was better against the Vikings, the 2 Jet games, that Colts game. He was a little bit better, but he still hasn't played, to me, nearly as well. Outside of this Vikings game, he has not played as well as he did in 2021. And so you look at that, the offensive line has not played well. So that's why I used that word systemic earlier, because there's a lot of failures in the coaching arena. Okay. But the quarterback hasn't been as good. The receivers haven't been as good. The tight ends haven't been. The offensive line, like I said, literally one guy has been better than last year, and it's Ramondre Stevenson. And I put a lot of that on the coaches, but the players deserve some blame too. You could argue the front office deserves some blame. All right. And we know who's running the front office, but their offensive line, not deep enough, right? Isaiah Wynn stinks. Then they bring in Marcus Cannon, hadn't played football in 2 years, couldn't stay on the field healthy. So now what? Connor McDermott is starting last night, and no disrespect to him, he did an admirable job, but like this is like their 5th option at tackle, and he's starting a Thursday night game against the Bills. That's why it's just a systemic failure. It's too bad, because you watch the Vikings game on Thanksgiving night and you're like, oh, they're on to something. They might have something. And then they take 3 steps back against Buffalo last night.
Yeah, that phrase you use, John, systemic failure, is so damning, but you make so many good points that, I see it. It has been the last couple of years. It seems like you've had a solid draft the last 2 years, but to your exact point, who has actually gotten better in this offense? We've
Sorry
gone long
to cut
here.
you off there, Mason, but who would you rather have right now, George Pickens or Tyquan Thornton?
Yeah, I'll take the guy that is turning
I'm
into a stud
Thornton,
in Pittsburgh.
But
yeah,
it's like,
well, the whole wide receiver being drafted thing, that's a curse at this point. That's just a curse under Bill Belichick. It just can't happen. You draft a quarterback and then turn him into a slot wide receiver at this point. We've gone long here, which is, not shocking, but we've definitely needed to touch on it. So 30 seconds are left. I want to pose this question to you guys before we move on. and you kind of hint at it here and there, like something needs to change. Put on our thinking caps here, like we're back in 4th grade, our thinking caps. What actually needs to change? What organizational decision needs to happen for this to turn back into a competent offense? Does coaches need to go? Does the quarterback need to go? Do we need to gut an entire receiving core like they did for the linebacker? What's the first thing that Bill or Robert Kraft needs to do come, the second this offseason ends?
For me, I think it's you have to make the change at the offensive coordinator position. We've seen plenty of examples this season why it's not going to work. And I think in the draft this year, I think you need to go with a starting caliber, first round pick caliber lineman, whether it's tackle with Isaiah Wynn probably out the door, Trent Brown, a shell of his former self. You need that franchise, whether it be left tackle, right tackle. You need to shore up that offensive line, and you need to replace Matt Patricia with the play calling if you really want to maximize the potential of Mac Jones.
I think in the next 5 weeks, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge are coaching for their roles on this team. And I say roles, not jobs, because I think they're so tight with Belichick that even if they fail, he'll give them some sort of front office job or move them to a different position. But if this offense continues to be bad, they will not be in their positions next year. And to me, that's the key change going into next year. If Bill O'Brien or Chad O'Shea or someone like that's the OC next year, I think this offense is a lot better.
I agree the offensive coaches need to change, but I'll take it further. If Bill Belichick is quote unquote stuck in his ways where like I want the guys that I want, Robert, then Robert Kraft has a decision on his hands where it's like, Bill, it's been fun, but this is not working. Sorry. Yeah. Like, it's either them or you go with them. And I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows? It's a crossroads the Patriots are facing with a couple games left in the season. Let's see if it gets even worse than it has, or if they can salvage something, try to make a playoff push. They would need to go at the very least 4-1, and I don't even know if that is going to be enough. That is the first quarter, a very long first quarter, reacting to the Patriots losing to the Bills, but more so the Patriots and how they have fallen off that, not to pull a Kellerman, but fallen off the cliff here. But then again, that's enough of that. Thanks for watching on YouTube Live. We always stream on YouTube Live reacting to the Patriots game. Find us on Straight Facts Homie there. For everybody else, there were many other games. In case you didn't know, let's talk about them in the second quarter right now on Straight Facts Homie.